Hey everybody, Shar here, and welcome to the Blonde and Strong podcast. This is our very special episode. It's our first birthday. I can't believe it. So, this is a podcast all about strength and empowerment, with each episode dedicated to helping our listeners improve their health, their well being, to learn, grow, and unlock their strengths from the inside out. I felt called to create this podcast to give a platform to inspirational guests to share their knowledge, their experience, strength, and hope in order to empower others to prove it's possible not only to survive, but to thrive. And this is done through open, honest, unfiltered conversations, a safe space for people to be raw and powerful through their vulnerability without shame or judgment. So no topic is off limits as long as it has the intention of empowering listeners. Our growth is our own responsibility and no one can do the work for us, but I truly believe that we're stronger together. So sit back and relax. We're about to dive in deep to our first birthday episode. Come dive in deep with us. Welcome, everybody. So, as you now know, the Blonde and Strong podcast is turning 1 year old today. I'm so excited. Do you realize that most podcasts never make it past 10 episodes? Did you know that, Abigail?
I did not know that. Wow.
So podcasting is just one of those things that most people start it and then they never even get to like 10 episodes and then they just quit because do you know what? It's graft. It's absolute graft, but it's so much fun. And to celebrate our first birthday, I decided to do a very special Q&A episode where I let the listeners ask the questions of me and I kind of become the guest of the podcast. And I was going to just do it as a solo episode, but the beautiful Abigail Barnes said that she would be willing to come and interview me. So she's going to be me today. She is going to be Blonde and Strong today and I'm going to be the guest. So welcome, Abigail.
Thank you. This is so exciting.
Well, thank you for agreeing to come and do this with me. I really do appreciate it. I think it's going to be nice to be on like the other side today. So let's rock.
For sure. So let's get started with something that you do for all of your listeners right at the start. So because you ask every guest the this or that questions, we're going to go into a quick fire this or that for you. So Shar, dogs or cats?
Dogs.
Phone calls or texts?
Phone call.
Beach or mountains?
Beach.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee all the way.
Wow. The city or the countryside?
Countryside.
Winter or summer?
Summer.
Connection or isolation?
Connection.
Oh, good one. Baths or showers?
Shower.
IQ or EQ?
EQ.
Love or money?
Love.
I think we need to say both. Can we do that?
Okay, so I'm going to caveat all of these, by the way. And you can have it all, y'all. You don't need to pick between one or the other. I love everything listed in the this or that. And I want all of them to be a part of my life, except maybe tea. I'm really not that fussed about it. But I feel like you can have it all. But for the fun of this or that, I will pick one.
Amazing. Okay, depth or width?
Depth.
And would you rather be right or be happy?
Happy all day long.
Love it. So let's get into the questions. Drum roll, please.
Oh, I'm excited. Let's go. These are from the listeners, by the way. The listeners sent me messages saying these are the questions that they wanted to ask me. So we'll see. We're going to quick fire these quick as we can.
This is so awesome. So, Shar, what inspired you to start the Blonde and Strong podcast?
Okay, so Blonde and Strong was initially started as a passion project of mine as a blog. It was a written blog. Now, I had spent years working so my career has been a bit where it's been all like business. I worked in healthcare and dentistry, and I used to set businesses up, and I got burnt out basically. So I had a huge career change, became a personal trainer, nutritionist, excuse me, a yoga teacher. And that became my life. And I was absolutely passionate about self-healing and learning about the body and how the body works and healing yourself through nutrition and movement and meditation. and my career path took me kind of off the path that I thought it was going to. I ended up working for a really big company in personal training, but again, I ended up in the business side of things, and I just kept burning out. I kept burning out doing all of the running businesses for other people, working anywhere between 16 and 20 hours a day. It was just ridiculous. So I was just burning out all the time. And I ended up going back into healthcare, and working in dentistry again. But my purpose was gone, so I'd gone back into doing something that allowed me to have more work life balance, but my passion was gone and I wasn't helping people, which is what I felt called to do in my life. So I decided to start the Blonde and Strong blog. And the whole purpose of that was that I know I've been through so many things in my life, so many things that I haven't even talked about on the podcast, whole topics that we haven't even covered yet with other guests. And a lot of the things that I've been through are enough to break most people, but yet somehow I still come out the other side smiling, laughing, loving, and full of compassion and joy for life. And where that came from was when I was young. I was about 23 when I kind of started this whole self-development journey. And what gave me the strength to endure those times, and to be fair, that may have been one of the most difficult times of my life at that age, because I had a brain tumor. I was in a really abusive relationship. I had a little baby girl who was struggling. I had family members who were going through addiction and all kinds of stuff. My world was absolutely upside down. But I started going to these groups and these meetings, and connecting with people who just were going through the darkest times, like worse than even what I was going through. And I thought I was dying, but they were laughing and they were smiling and they were loving, and they would wrap their arms around me and ask me if I wanted a cup of tea and a biscuit. And they would, yeah, and I was like, why are they laughing? Why are they smiling? What have they got to laugh about? And they taught me about gratitude and acceptance and compassion and love, and focusing on myself, my own journey, and not worrying about everybody else around me. And they taught me how to love myself and how to love the world, and I was forever grateful for that. And I would never have become the person I was. I would never have had the resilience that I had. I would never have made it through all of my dark times without these people being willing to share everything that they'd been through with me and how they got through it. And then they taught me how to love through the pain anyway. Like, the actually love is all we have, and it's our greatest superpower. And they taught me that. And I thought, if I've been through all of these things, who am I to keep quiet about them? Like, who am I to not share that with somebody else, and maybe inspire someone else or empower somebody else to take control of their own life, their own healing, and learn how to love themselves strong through all of their adversity. And so that was why I started the blog. I know that's quite a long-winded answer, but I want people to understand what that driving force for me was, what really inspired me to start the blog. But what I found with the blog was that it was very emotionally draining, having to write about all of my experiences, because it could take me weeks to write a blog, and I was having to relive every emotion and every experience to make sure that what I wrote was a true reflection of how I felt through that whole process. So yeah, I found it really arduous, and it meant that I wasn't getting the frequency of the blogs out that I would like to. And so it wasn't having the impact. And I just thought, you know what, I should turn this into a podcast, because I can easily talk about this stuff, and I can get other people in to talk about things that maybe I don't have experience of, who maybe have more knowledge than I do. And I can cover all topics, not just the ones that I do. Or I don't necessarily have to share my story. Someone else could share theirs if I'm not wanting to speak about a certain topic, and then it's not all just about me. It's not just the Shar show. It's a community. It's inclusive. It's got everybody involved. So that was the whole point of the podcast. It's now kind of got legs, and Blonde and Strong is turning more into a movement. And it's going to be bigger. It's going to be a brand, it's going to be a movement, it's going to be products and services, and it'll end up growing bigger and bigger. And so that's my answer to that. I hope that answers the question.
Amazing. I love that. So the next question then, this is a toughie, right? But you've been asked it, so you just have to answer. What are your favorite episodes and why?
Oh, God, right. It's like asking someone to choose between their children. Like every episode I think is different, and I have such different guests on, and we talk about such a huge variety of topics. I'll talk about the podcasts that I've put out so far, okay, because I have like another 10 ready to go. So I'm not going to talk about those yet. I won't include those yet. So my favorites so far, I'm going to pick 4, but for all different reasons. I'll tell you why. Okay, so favorite podcast so far, my lockdown special with Lindsay Bruce. He's a dear friend of mine. He's an ex-SAS soldier. He is a mindset and lifestyle coach, and he is just an all-round badass, good man with incredible views on life. And we just talked for, an hour and a half about lockdown and life and mindset. And we put the world to rights. And I feel like we probably solved the world's problems in a podcast. So for me, that it's always going to hold like a special place in my heart. I love it. And it's done really well. It's performed really, really well. So if you haven't checked it out already, do check it out because it's a good one. Next would be episode number 5, which I recorded with Miss Caroline Darcy, and she is a sex coach. And we talked all about sex, relationships, masculine and feminine energy within relationship, and how to be a better partner. And do you know what? It's been my best performing podcast of all time so far. Probably because it has the word sex in the title. I think people just, they're like, ooh, that sounds interesting. I'll listen to that. But the number of men that I got messaging me after that podcast saying, I had no idea that is how women thought. I had no idea that that's what my partner was thinking and feeling. And they have changed how they behave in their relationships, and their relationships are now better for it. It was mind blowing. It really, really was mind blowing. So that is by far, we had the most fun. We just giggled like through the whole thing. So I absolutely loved that one. Episode 4 with John Beamson. He is John Beamson of Robust Tours, and he went full Goggins. It was called Going Full Goggins, and it was so much. He did a 24-hour step challenge where he did over 100,000 steps in 24 hours. And it was all about his mindset, his kind of Goggins mindset within that challenge. But he is one of the funniest human beings I've ever met in my life. And we laughed until we cried, but then he actually cried. And one of the things that I love about the podcast in general is that in almost every single episode, one of the guest will say to me, I've never told anybody that before. Or I've actually never talked about this out loud before with anyone. Or they'll cry and they don't know why they're crying. And that was the point of the podcast. It's one of the things I think is my unique gift, is that I make people feel safe and comfortable to open up, because I see them anyway. And so they have nothing to hide. And I loved that this kind of like burly mountain leader, ex-army, like guy from the northeast of England whose business is Robust Tours, taking people on expedition adventures, was crying on my podcast because he'd been able to tap into something vulnerable within a challenge in his own mindset. And so for me, that will always hold a special place. And it was only like my 4th episode, and I was like, I'm onto something here. Like, this is incredible. Like, this is exactly what I started it for. And I'm so happy. And I say my last one would be my 2nd episode ever with my dear friend, Sam Tyra, who it was about breaking the stigma of mental health. And he just poured so much knowledge and so much love into the episode. He's a young guy who has the resilience and mindset of an absolute like Kaizen warrior. He's crazy, some of the stuff that he does, but he also at the tender age of like 25, 26 started an entire charity and has delivered mental health training and support to like 40,000 children nationwide by his mid-20s, because and that was whilst also doing a master's and being put forward for a PhD in psychiatric nursing. So he's just an incredible human, and it was a really moving episode, and I felt blessed to kind of have that so early on. So yeah, those are my favorites and why. But there's so much more to come. Like I said, I've got like another 10 episodes sat there just waiting, and they are hard hitting episodes. Some of the topics that we're covering in the next round, yeah, they got me kind of, I'm excited to get them out.
Fantastic. Well, keep playing those episodes, people. So next question, how do you stay motivated?
Whew, okay. Okay, I'm going to break this down into two. One, how do I stay motivated with the podcast? It's because I love it. I love connecting with amazing people, and I'm passionate about getting that message out there. The whole point is about empowering others. Like I said before, that was the whole point of starting Blonde and Strong, and the podcast does that. So that's how I stay motivated with the podcast, because I know it's doing so much good. In life, the way I stay motivated is just remembering that I should have died multiple times, from the age of 16, where I nearly died the first time, up until the last time in my 30s. Like, there are times where the doctors have been like, you are a medical miracle, you should not be here, time and time again, to remind myself that we only have this one precious life. It can literally be taken at any given moment, and how I show up every single day matters. And sometimes all I can do is the most basic of tasks, but if I show up with love and I show up with integrity, then I've done my job, and that's what keeps me going. It just reminds me, that I didn't survive to live fearfully in the dark. Like, I survived to live and love to my full potential, to realize my full potential, and to be able to help people learn to love themselves strong along the way. And if I believe that's what I was put on this earth to do, and it's why I haven't died yet, I haven't finished, like, I'm not done. And that's what keeps me motivated, because even when I feel really shit and I don't want to do stuff, I still look after myself first. But it's about, what did I come here to do? What is my purpose on the planet? And that is what keeps me motivated.
I love, 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 love this question. I've got my own extra question for you, but we'll have to do this as a whole nother episode, because we've still got more amazing questions from your listeners. So next question, what advice do you wish people had told you before launching your podcast?
Okay, well, first of all, what I wish people hadn't told me was I had people telling me not to do my podcast how I wanted to do it, because it didn't fit with how they like to do their podcast. So I had people trying to discourage me from doing the podcast because they didn't like my format. And so I wished I hadn't asked certain people. Like, might be the first thing. So what I would say is, find a podcast you absolutely love and ask that person for advice. Get really clear about who you are and what works for you, and what actually, although you might have, like, are you going to be a guest podcast? Or are you going to be a solo podcast? Like, how are you going to actually run it? And then figure out, like, how can you show up best in that? And then if you're going to have guests on, how can you shine the light on them best? So it's about figuring out where your gifts are within that and working to your strengths. Forget what anybody else says. I wished I'd have known that you have to apply separately for the Apple podcast thing. Like, to actually get your podcast up on Apple, you have to apply for that separately, and it can take time for them to approve that. So I really wish I'd known that. Nobody told me that. And maybe the most important was, I wish someone had told me how much work goes into the production of podcasting, because it is extremely arduous and time consuming. And if you don't have the money to pay a production company to do it for you, then you need to be willing to set aside hours for every episode, to not only record it, like to prepare for it, to record it, to edit it, piece it all together, upload it, write all the show notes for it, then be able to create the social media content for it as it goes out. And it is a huge, huge task. It takes a lot of time. if you can afford a production company, I recommend you get one, because what it does is it slows you down if you don't have one. It holds you back from doing as many podcasts as you would have done. And it can start to get a little time consuming and feel draining when, if the bit that you absolutely love is the interviewing and actually recording the podcast, focus your love and attention on that and let someone else do all the dog's body background work. I can't afford to do that yet, but it's coming. Like, that is happening. So the second I can, that's what I'm doing. So that would be my advice. Oh, and be yourself. Just be yourself. Yeah, make sure you get your show notes right. Use the SEO, like actually think about what you're writing in your show notes, because it does matter for SEO. And then think of ways that you can monetize the podcast. Like, if you have products and services to sell, just slip it in the podcast. You're never going to be a millionaire having a podcast. If you think you are, you're kidding yourself, unless you're Joe Rogan. So just, if you're going to monetize it, have something of your own to sell in it. And then maybe, dependent on what genre and like what kind of genre you're doing with the podcast, you might be able to get a sponsor. So those are my top tips.
Amazing. Top tips. And congratulations again for hitting the 1 year anniversary. So for those of you who are still with us, you're on the Blonde and Strong podcast. My name is Abigail Barnes, and I am interviewing the amazing Shar, who is the founder of the Blonde and Strong podcast, and we are answering your questions for Shar. So we've got 2 more questions to go. And the final question is a good one, so make sure you stick around. Now, this one, brilliant. I can't wait to hear your answer to this. What 3 songs would get the soundtrack of your life?
Okay, I'm going to be honest. I hate questions like this because I am a Libra and I can't make decisions that easily. So for me, this is like such a vast question. I really struggled when when I was asked this. So this was the best I could come up with in a short, like, quick period of time. I would say something from The Greatest Showman, like "This Is Me" or "From Now On," something like that, that really speaks to coming home to yourself and living unapologetically as you. So where it's really just like self-awareness, self-acceptance, and showing up in the world 100% yourself. So I would say that would be song 1, or kind of like song choice number 1. Then, just for like jokes, "The Real Slim Shady" by Eminem, just because my nickname is Shady, and because people used to call me Slim Shady. And then maybe like "Hotel California," because I feel like my heart still is there and always will be.
Amazing. You are a California girl in my world. FYI, I'm also a Libra, so I'm with you on that decision. I'm like, but if it was this kind of day, this would be the track. And if it was this time of the year, that would be the track.
I was like, I could pick anything. Is there some kind of like car crash song where like your life is just an absolute shambles? Or, but like, that isn't it. I think, do you know what the problem is? A lot of songs are written from some like codependent, bleeding heart bullshit. Like, and that's just not me anymore. So I don't really like, a lot of songs are written from a place of weakness and giving your power away.
Well, so
that's why I found it quite difficult.
So what about the Minions? Because I'm happy.
Oh yeah, that'll do. I like that one too. Yeah, I was looking for something that had the word like sunshine in it, or like.
Yeah, I like that, because I can then see those funny little creatures dancing around. But anyway, I can't believe this is the end of this episode, and we are at the final question. So dun dun dun, and this is the big one, guys. What is next for the Blonde and Strong podcast? What can we look forward to for the 2nd year?
This is a huge question. So we already have the next 10 episodes recorded. I'm just in the process of editing them and getting them ready to push out. And there's some really, really hard hitting subjects that we're covering. So, for the podcast, you can just expect to have more frequency and consistency with me getting the episodes out there. I'm really focusing on that as much as possible. I would like to, it's going to be at least every 2 weeks. There will be an episode coming out. I will attempt to get it once a week and try and get the consistency with that. But again, it will be time dependent, as I said, because I produce them all on my own. And when you have other work to do, that can be a little bit tricky. So I promise one every 2 weeks. I will try and get one out every week. That's what you can expect from the podcast, with even better and better guests constantly all the time. So I'm really, really excited about that. Blonde and Strong in particular, as a brand, as a movement, like it's growing, it's getting legs. So what you can expect from Blonde and Strong is I am in the process now of getting the whole personal brand built and getting the content out to everybody. The podcast is just going to be like an arm of that, a pillar of that. I'm building a tribe. I want to build a tribe. Not I am building a tribe of people who desire to feel strong, empowered, and free in their lives. Okay. So the whole purpose of Blonde and Strong is to help people feel strong, empowered, and free. And the way that I can help you do that is by helping you find ways of improving your physical, mental, and emotional health and well being. And personally, I believe that the key to having a healthy, happy life means you have to look at each one of those pillars. It can't just be about your physical health, it can't just be about your mental health, it can't just be about your emotional health. I think people forget about the emotional health, they don't even take it into consideration. And that is where people fall short. People talk about mental health being the most important, but it's not necessarily. I think they all work intrinsically together, and you have to look at all of them, and you need to be able to focus on each one individually, because you are a whole person. You are not just your body, you are not just your mind, you are not just your emotions, you are all three of those things. And we need to learn how to become best friends with them all, like bring them all together and get them working together. And I hear a lot about people saying things like, oh, just, it's mind over matter, or, you can control your thoughts and then do this and that. And I just think, well, why are you trying to go to war with yourself? Why are you trying to get your mind to beat the shit out of your body to get it to do something? Why are you trying to beat the shit out of your body to get your mind to it? Just doesn't make any sense to me. Like, why aren't you sitting down with yourself and being like, I hear what you're saying to me, like I feel my body, it's not happy, like I know my mind's so I got you. What do we need? I'm listening to you. I hear what you're saying. What do I need to do next? Like, get the two to start working together. Become best friends with yourself. Like, I just want to help people become more self-aware, to improve their relationships with their bodies, which in turn will help with their relationship with their mental health and their emotions. So yeah, that's the whole point. So I'm going to start actually putting some content out where I can teach people how to get connected with themselves, with their mind, their body, their spirit. I really want to empower people to be able to heal themselves and create the life that they desire. So I'm going to start putting out information about, I'll put out guided meditations and yoga routines and, exercise programs. There'll be nutritional guidance, and there'll be support on getting people to be able to check in with themselves, ask themselves the questions, and how to improve their self-love, get that self-love journey going, like be able to ask themselves the right questions to improve that relationship with themselves. So there's huge things in the pipe work, lots of plans, lots of programs, lots of content. There's lots going on. I don't want to give too much away. I would rather people just came and joined in with the tribe and started to feel their own way through it, because I want people to, in effect, be able to navigate and build their own path through it. It's your self-love journey. I want you to learn how to love yourself strong. I want to give you the tools so that you can build your own life with those. It's not about me telling you what to do. It's about me educating you on your own body and all of your options, and you get to choose. It's about empowerment, and choice is powerful. So I want to give you the knowledge, which is power, give you the choice, which is power, and you get to decide for yourself. It's not about getting someone to come and do all that for you. So that's
Amazing. This sounds so fun. So what I'm hearing is we have got a blonde and strong global community of empowered men and women who are on their own self-love journey. I love it. I love it. I love it.
I think it's
Before
to say though, just sorry, Abigail. I didn't mean. I think it's really important to say because I get a lot of people going, "Oh, but I'm not blonde. I could, and I'm like, no, you're not. I am." Right. So blonde and strong is me. It's you. It's everyone. It's inclusive. It's not about a hair color. It's about a state of mind. It's about feeling strong, empowered, and free. It doesn't matter what color hair you've got. It doesn't matter what color skin you've got. It doesn't matter what color teeth you've got. I really couldn't give a shit. It's all inclusive. It is inclusive. I'm thinking I'm gonna have to make shirts because I have all this like merchandise, my blonde and strong stuff. I'm thinking I'm gonna have to make a shirt that says not blonde but still strong. Like just something that's like because people do get really hung up. They're like, oh, I'm not blonde though. But I have loads of brunette friends who have my blonde and strong gear because it isn't about the hair color. It's about a feeling. It's about how you feel. I genuinely want someone to put a hoodie on or a t-shirt on and feel 20% stronger than before they put it on. Like I want them to put it on and then when they walk around throughout the day, like their shoulders are back and their head's a little higher. Like I want them to put that on and feel stronger and more empowered and free. And that's the whole point of it. So I just wanted to kind of get that out there because I don't want there to be any confusion. I thought it was it just sounds good. It sums me up. It sums the brand up. And I think it has a fun little play on the fact that, blondes are supposed to be dumb. And we're obviously not. We're freaking awesome. So it was kind of that too.
So my question was going to be about the merch. Blonde and strong. Where can we get these t-shirts and hoodies? And I hope that there is one in white because I'm looking at you right now and I'm like, I really want a blonde and strong white hoodie. Where can we go to get the merch?
Okay. So you can get them on my website. There is a shop on my website, which is www.blondeandstrong.com. So there is a shop on there that you can click on, and it has a whole range of t-shirts, hoodies, masks, kids stuff. So it's got adult sizes, kids sizes. It's got like really nicer quality thing. Everything is really good quality, but I also put kind of like premium quality stuff on there if you're wanting to spend like a little bit of extra. However, if you're wanting something a little more bespoke, something that you can't find on there, I do have a local supply chain where I can literally get anything and I can get it bespoke made for you. And the quality is literally 5-star, second to none. Because of COVID, just so that I had the supply chain set up, but because of COVID, the local supply chains were taking a month per order. Like, so if I placed an order for somebody, it was taking a month to get it to their door. And I'm not okay with that. It's just not good customer service. And I wasn't willing for that to be the case. So the shop that I have on my website at the moment is a print on demand site. So it literally, you are basically making your own bespoke item. They're printing it and they're sending it to your door. Once,
So awesome.
yeah.
I
So
love
yeah,
it. I love it.
any color you want. I have these that have the little swirly writing, but I also have it where it's all like block capitals. So there's like different choice. You've got choice, girls.
Beautiful, beautiful. Choice, merch, blonde, strong. It has been such an amazing opportunity to ask you these questions. Congratulations again on a year. That is no mean feat. I'm super excited for your next year and what's to come for the community and for everything. So where can we go to follow you, to find out, to see what's going on? Where do you hang out the most on social media so that we can all sort of get a little stalky stalk behind the scenes, see what's going on?
Instagram is probably
Instagram,
yeah,
amazing.
Instagram's where I'm the most active. I host a lot of rooms on Clubhouse as well. So if you are on there, please do like give me a follow. click the bell, follow, because I do all kinds of different rooms and give out loads of information on there. But Instagram's probably where I'm the most active socially. I will put in the show notes how to get in touch with me, how to contact me. And please do send me a DM on Instagram. I answer everybody who messages me, and reach out. And it is at blonde.and.strong. So I'm pretty easy to find.
Fantastic. So do all the reaching out, peoples, do all the following, do all the socialing, do all the stalking, and buy that merch and download those episodes. Oh, and make sure that you give her a 5-star review, because who doesn't want to review things? Like, let's give praise where praise is due. So Shar, you are amazing. Thank you so much for having me on the show to interview you. It has been a pleasure and an honor.
Genuinely, Abigail, I can't thank you enough. I can't have imagined being interviewed by anybody better. So thank you, my love.
Amazing.
Well, I just want to thank everyone for taking the time to listen today and celebrate our first birthday, for everyone who's been with us for the entire year and who's going to stick with us for the next year and all the years to come. I just want to thank you. I appreciate you. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your love and your ears and listening. And like Abigail said, give us a follow. Give Abigail a follow. She's an absolute weapon. She literally smashes up the productivity world. So if you need any help, do reach out to her as well, because she is my girl and she's amazing. And she has a book coming out, but I'm sure she wouldn't want me to say that. But anyway, promo. All right. Love you guys. Until next time, stay strong.